Hi lovelies, hi, welcome back. I'm Gibbet, and as promised I have a journal video this week that I would like to show you. As usual, it's a kind of nature-y one, and this I've done like a double fold cover. So you've got a pen on the side here, which I've just put my pen in there to show you, and a very thick spine and lovely eco-dyed fabric. So this is a cotton calico, which is what I like to use most of the time. And you'll see that the edges all have, all the way around, some dyed cheesecloth to match the lovely golds and earthy tones. And underneath the cover there's also a layer of this really lovely gold coloured linen, which is really nice quality linen. I bought it actually about 4 years ago for a dress, which oddly it didn't magically make itself, so it's now turned into a book cover. So I've got a book-sized hole in my fabric now, but I feel as though I have put it to very good use. So that's the gold linen. So the book opens this way. I'll show you one section at a time. So we've got one cover here. So I've got some lovely sycamore seeds here in that I've pressed. It's kind of embedded into paper. This is a book plate that I designed quite recently, did a lino print of, which we'll see more of that later. So I've just included that on the first page so that you can add your name and details if you wanted, personal details. And then this first section is very kind of what you expect from junk journal. It's very just different sized pages, some light stamping, tea dyed, and I thought I would concentrate more on just allowing writing paper there. This little one is, I've been watching a lovely channel called Creative Cove, and this is an idea of hers. I'm sorry, I've forgotten your first name. Anyway, I will put the link below. Embedding pressed flowers into like thin paper, tissue paper and different things like that. So you get these lovely crinkles and then paint over them, and I think they look really pretty. Some kind of folded paper, which I think gives some interesting effects with a tea dye. So as I say, mostly just tea dyed paper. That's the back of that flowery one with some nice fetch and other things. So lots of writing space. This section is 140 pages, writing pages. This was a nice idea. I wanted to use acetate to make like a paper holder, it's almost like a paper clip, I suppose you could describe it. So I've used some scrapbook paper to make, and I folded the back just to make it a bit nicer to handle rather than just cut it. So I folded it in and just stitched it. The back is a little bit longer than the front to give it a bit more grip, but it works really well. It just sits on the end of the page, so you have a little margin sticking out. I've used a dip pen and just experimented with the different inks that I had. None of my drawing pens actually work on the acetate, I found, so just experiment, see what you have. I used a wet ink that didn't smudge, and I thought that was really nice. It holds paper really well. So I just put some little scraps in there, and it's nice that you can just move the design around, you know, wherever you want. So that's kind of what it looks like closer. So I've used that idea a couple of times. I think that worked out well. More flower pages, some stamping. I've used little bits of gold in this journal as well. This is another idea from Creative Code, some lovely crinkled tracing paper with watercolour on and stamps. Some more folded effects. So you get the idea. And then there's another one there with a different stamp. This one was a little Carolina wren, which I thought was really sweet. We don't have these here, but I really like the pose on this photo. So I've just sketched again with the dip pen and wet ink onto acetate, and using that to hold some little scraps of paper. Like so. And then this last page of this section, I just put some little journaling cards with a nice playing cards rather with the designs. Use some handmade papers on the back for journaling spots, and this is a pretty little design that sorry, there's a really strong shadow today. I'm sort of sat right under the sun. Playing card encased in tracing paper both sides, so it's quite nice that you have a surface to write on. A little envelope with wax seal and pressed flower, and I've just left a strip there of double-sided tape that you can peel off and use as you want to. This was quite a nice little idea that I had about reinforcement rings. I've put them on acetate and you can make different shapes. Sometimes I make like a long thin one. This is more like a matchbook size. I've just been inking up the rings and putting them onto acetate, so then you can back them however you want. And I've put a line of sewing just to hold that in. These work really nice for a happy mail. Really cute little idea, because obviously you can ink different colours, use different papers however you want. So that's that, and over here I've got a very deep pocket with nice gussets. I've put a magnet on there, and that's just to hold these extra, what do they call these, toppers? Snippet things. So I've got some lovely labels here from Junk Journal Joy, I think the Etsy shop is called. These are Tracy Fox Creative, and I think they're mostly her labels, but there might be one or two from another lady which I will link below. I think these are different. Anyway, I will put the links below of what I've used. So they go in there, and that has a little magnet closure, and that's the pen loop that I can take out. So that is a Copper Beech leaf that I pressed last year, and I've gone over it with some lovely red silk stitching. Sorry about that shadow, I hope you can see that. Yeah, so that's that side of the book, and then we've got the same on this side. It's sycamore leaves with this lovely deep pink colour, which is, I was really pleased that it kept its colour. And then this section I made into a small ring binder, which actually opens, it kind of starts that side. So I've got a fabric pocket again with eco-dyed fabric and stitching, a little notebook with Edith Holden pages, and some windows where I've put some pressed flowers and some transparent stickers. See if I can find something pale. butterflies and such, and pressed leaves. I really like the effect where you can see the layers peeping through. I like that. There is a pocket there and a pocket there, and then we've got a little die cut here, which I've just used a tiny little figure from one of my digital kits, which is done, just cut out there. That's Matilda, and she's just catching this elm tree leaf on the acetate that's falling. So there's a cute little die cut. I've lined it with eco dye just to make a nice journaling spot. So that's that one. It's beautiful cotton rag paper. It's very thick, so I've made a kind of another thick pocket with lots of space. I've used fabric with some rough sewing here to hide the little fastener, which is there, and I've used for the pocket one of my alphabet practice kind of reference cards, just lined with some book pages and ledgers, and I've got another window here with pressed flower, and again lined to make some nice writing spots. This idea was quite nice too. I've printed onto tracing paper just a few little random images, so where you see like the butterflies, the bee and a bit of that green, so those bits are printed, and then the rest of it I've just collaged over after I've cut out the envelope template. So we've got some painted tracing paper, some book pages, some little script and eco dye and little scraps of handmade paper and such, so just randomly stuck those over, and I think that works quite well. It's got a nice thickness, and it makes it a bit more sturdy, but it's also got some what's the word, opacity? I've forgotten how to speak English. You know what I mean, you can see through it. So that's that. Okay, so let me just tuck those back in. And I've attached this one. I've tried to do them all kind of a bit different. I've used jump rings from the jewellery stuff and just knotted some twine. Okay. And the paper I've done leaf impressions, which you'll see a video on my channel how to do that, to get the ink marks, and over the top of that I've embossed with some gold using the same leaves to sort of repeat the pattern. I think that came out really pretty. I've made the next page is like a stiff board that I've covered with scrapbook paper and eco dye with these lovely golds that match the paper, and I folded it over here to make this sort of weird pocket shape, and used that squiggle design, whatever that's called. That's called something, isn't it, in grammar? So there's that, and I've used a coconut shell button with a paper fastener through it, and that works really nicely as a little closure. Also goes nice with these seed pod designs. And the strings, I've made a little pendulum sort of shaped tag which says Nature Notes, and it's got lovely linen string which I like to play with. The next page is sort of a little collection of envelopes. I've used, this here is one sheet of eco dye paper which I have just folded into an accordion fan, and in between stuck these envelopes. So I've got this eco dye one with sycamore leaves, There's some painted tracing paper, there's some handmade paper with petals and leaves and such, and then another eco die with a lovely silver birch sprig on there. So they kind of sit together, and what I've done is I've staggered them so that you can see them, the different ones sticking out, so I think the colours complement each other really well. And just where they're staggered, just shape those corners just to make it look a bit neater. So that's that one. And this is going back to the book plates. So I don't know if anyone remembers this far back, but when you used to get like business cards ordered, or you might even order book plates personalised and printed for you. So they would come in a lovely little presentation box, and they would stick one on the outside. And I just really like that idea. So I made this little envelope with some handmade paper. I've stuck one on the outside and used a little seam, sort of a gusset, to make it thicker, which you might be able to see here where my thumb is. I'm trying to angle it away from that annoying shadow, sorry. So just where the handmade paper was a little bit rough on the end, I've used the book page to strengthen that and sort of neaten up the edge to make a fold on the pocket. And then inside I've printed a few little ones of the lino cuts on different papers, just to you can see a nice bit of variety there. So that's a little packet of book plates, which I'm very pleased with. And this last one, a pocket. This eco die I really loved, but it was very delicate, and I think there was a hole on this side here. So I've just lined it with this decoupage paper, which works really well. It strengthens it very nicely, and it means that, you know, if you line it, you can still use some of your favourite pieces. I've used this teal cheesecloth because I thought it complemented the mauve colours really pretty. And that again is a beech tree, I believe, which is also, I've used the same for this one, with these lovely gold colours. I've lined this one with some old sewing pattern, which works equally well. And inside there, what have we got? A journaling card with some white lines. This works well if you use a little scrap of book page, oops, instead of the usual tape. Looks very pretty. I've got some writing practice from some old vintage typography books, and just a little notebook there, which sort of started life as a kind of a deconstructed envelope, and then, you know, turned into something else. So it's got a little pocket with a window there with some pressed flowers and a little pressed leaf on that one. So that one's that. Okay, so that's that. So as you can see, it folds nicely into three. I've got a safety pin with some stone beads on there, and then the ring binder section, I've done it so that the ring sticks out a tiny bit on the back, just enough to, I've put one charm on there, which is kind of my usual resin with a bit of book page and a little pressed leaf, and I seem to be going for the more simple sort of charms at the moment. I've just added a little sequin on there, a little bronze sequin. So if you wanted to add more on there, obviously you can. And so again, just a very simple, I've got a little gold safety pin with a little sequin on there. So that's that. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell. And as always, if you see ideas that you'd like to show in your work, please give credit where it's due. I have some bits and pieces on my website, I have some digitals, and I've also, in case you, following a recent video, tried to download a freebie, I've got a botanical card which was the most recent freebie that I mentioned, and I think that I'd made a mistake with the website listing, so it wasn't downloading properly. So I'm sorry about that. I apologise if it's caused anyone hassle. I hadn't realised until this week, so I've corrected that. So what I'm trying to say is, if you were interested in downloading the recent, what's it called, library card, botanical library card, it is now working. So thanks for watching everyone and spending some time with me today. I will wish you green and golden days and see you soon. Bye guys.